Number 40 is Doom. This obscure indie gem was released back in 2016. The beautiful narrative really resonated with a lot of people. You're essentially a lost orphan trying to find a way out of a place with a lot of evil people. By the end, you're not sure whether you're the real monster or they are.
Imagine a night
This was the right thing to do.
where every decision
The hell was that?
and every single action
I just saw someone at the cabin.
affects your fate.
Number 39 is Until Dawn. Until Dawn is by far the best interactive story-based game, with interesting characters, a good story, and amazing visuals.
We need to go get help now.
Could you live with the consequences? Until dawn.
Loyal citizens, I stand before you truly humbled on this 20th anniversary of Unification Day. We once again celebrate the fall of the unjust and corrupt governments of old. We honor the arrival of our saviors from the stars who ushered in 2 decades of peace and prosperity. And we rejoice in the total destruction of the insurgent organization known as
Number 38 is XCOM. XCOM saw a true revival this decade. The turn-based tactics are fantastic. It's also easy to get invested into your unit, so that is very tragic. The overlapping story is really good, but it's the mechanics that this game really shines in.
Armies will be shattered. Worlds will burn.
Number 37 is Starcraft II. Starcraft II maybe wasn't quite as popular for as long as Starcraft 1 was, but it's still an amazing game and by far the best RTS game out there. Which doesn't mean that much anymore, to be fair. But it's still great. Number 36 is Beat Saber. It's the best VR game out there, so it deserves a spot on this list, and it's gonna be 36 because it's really good. I also really liked Rock Band and Guitar Hero, but those games came out on platforms that had more than 5 good games.
Rainbow Six. Experts in close quarters battle and hostage rescue. Assembled from special forces teams around the world. The counterterrorism units.
Number 35 is Rainbow Six Siege. This decade saw a lot of games that went from crap to pretty good, and Rainbow Six Siege is one of those games. It still has its shortcomings, but it's mostly what DLC you should buy or which version you should buy to get the most out of it, or which DLC is included in which versions of the game. But the game itself is pretty good. The game has also become a pretty big deal when it comes to esports, which is nice.
Determination. But more than anything, you need character.
Touchdown. Smoke, you are go for countermeasures.
Wings on our badge because it's in our blood. We hit from above. The adrenaline, it floods your whole body.
Number 34 is CSGO. Honestly, it's quite surprising that a game like Counter-Strike is still growing after like 20 years. CSGO came out in 2012 and went free to play in 2018, which was a great idea because the game only grew after that. And now it seems to be unstoppable as an esport, and it just gets bigger and bigger. Number 33 is Titanfall. Titanfall 1 was really interesting, but also very lackluster in a lot of areas. However, Titanfall 2 added an actual story, and the multiplayer is even much better than Titanfall 1. A lot of players also really adore Titanfall 2, which I really like to see.
Perceptive, resourceful, and relentless. A pilot sees the world differently. Sheer walls become flanking routes. Pilots fight differently.
Okay, look, The Witcher is going to be in a lot of top 10s and top 3s for a lot of people, and for a good reason. The characters are interesting, the story is good, and the amount of content is absolutely insane. Both The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3 are excellent games that deserve most of the praise that they receive. But this is my personal list too, so you know, I think the games are very good, I just didn't enjoy them as much as most people.
There's coke in the Midas touch, a joke in the way that we rust and breathe again. And you'll find low.
You are truly as he anticipated. This is truly an unjust game. But if my voice is reaching you, I beg you, please overcome this game and save the world.
I'll navigate your escape route. Follow my directions.
Number 31 is Persona 5. The only reason that this didn't make my top 10 is because I didn't actually play it myself, so I don't really know what the gameplay is like. However, from the stories and the characters and the overall style and feel of the game, it's just absolutely amazing. It's so fantastic. I'm not really an anime kind of person, and this has a lot of the style to me. However, it's so weird, bizarre, but also fun and cool at the same time. This game deserves to be on this spot, without a doubt.
Let's get it, Joker.
The shadows are ready to kill. Be careful, Joker.
Beat him up.
Allow me to
Your Graces, I have to tell you in all seriousness that this land of ours is in the shit. Deep fucking shit.
Number 30 is Kingdom Come: Deliverance. This RPG features a huge world with absolutely amazing characters and really kind of realistic fighting, at least more complex than in most RPGs. Besides that, the story is really good, the characters are also interesting. It's based on real events, though I'm not exactly sure how accurate they are. But yeah, it's just really fun to ride on your horse through the world, not really going anywhere specific, just kind of enjoying the landscape and maybe kill some people here and there. Honestly, the biggest gripe I have with the game is that the performance isn't always top notch, but overall it's nothing too bad really. It's a really enjoyable game, it's really long, but it never feels boring. Number 29 is Destiny and Destiny 2. I think when Destiny 1 came out in 2014, most people were quite disappointed with the lack of content and the not so amazing story. Also with Peter Dinklage voicing, they weren't that happy. But since then the game improved a lot and Destiny 2 is unbelievably popular right now. Especially after the Steam release, which that's the first time I played Destiny 2. I did play Destiny on the PS4 years before, but I think this spot is mainly for Destiny 2, even though Destiny is part of it. But yeah, when I started Destiny 2 on Steam, I didn't actually realize that they kind of just removed the story at the beginning, so you have to go actively out of your way to go do the main stories, which for me, that's why I wanted to play it. And I did play like 10 to 15 hours of the strikes and the raids and whatever, and the PvP, but it's just not for me. That being said, the gunplay is absolutely amazing. The story itself is pretty interesting because there's quite a lot to do, and because there's been 2 games, there's been quite a lot of story. Overall, I'm a huge fan of this series. I'm kind of sad that they kind of ruined the progression system, where you don't really start from 1, but you start at like what the max level was before they released it on Steam with the Shadowkeep. But overall, it's just a really good game, even though for me personally, I would prefer to start from like level 1, power level 1, or like the worst armor possible, and then slightly upgrade, maybe do some strikes somewhere in the middle to kind of get some better armor and kind of progress from there, because that's how I play games. I'm not really a post-game content kind of guy. However, the game is absolutely amazing. It's free to play now, at least on Steam. I don't know if on consoles it's free as well. It should be, probably. Anyway, I do recommend the game if you don't really care about the story. You can still do the story, but it's just not that interesting when you're already level 750 when you start. Number 28 is Celeste. Celeste is a really tough platformer with a surprisingly interesting story. The game came out in 2018 and was quite a surprise hit. It was even nominated for one of the awards for, I think it was the best game of the year at the Game Awards, which it's quite surprising considering the show's premise is to basically advertise the trailers. So to have like an indie game that looks like Celeste and that is basically just a platformer and actually really tough to complete, it's quite surprising to be nominated there at all, let alone for the game of the year. That kind of tells how big Celeste was or is, and how good the game really is and how it really resonated with people.
How much
much are you willing to sacrifice? To suffer.
Number 27 is The Shadow of Mordor and The Shadow of War. Both of these games are very action-packed. The stories, apparently there's a lot of plot holes, but I don't know much about Lord of the Rings, so it didn't bother me. I just kind of went along with it, and I enjoyed the combat. I enjoyed killing probably 10,000 orcs or Uruks, so whatever. There's really fun powers. There is the Nemesis system is absolutely amazing, and I wish more developers would use it. Because I don't think it's like patented, or they should use it more. It's really interesting. It's really fun to have like some nemesis. What I always thought was very interesting, that both of these games, Shadow of War had the something with in-game currency. I didn't buy it at launch, so they removed it by the time that I got the game, but it did something with microtransactions that was horrible. And well, that happened a few times in the last decade, so it's not really surprising. It's just kind of sad, but I'm happy they removed it, and the game itself is absolutely amazing. But I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people kind of slept on the title, because they didn't really care after they did something like that. Especially considering in the first game they were paying reviewers, or they wanted to pay reviewers to give the game a good score, which is insane because the game is absolutely fantastic. Like, they didn't have to do that. They could have just released the game and it would have gotten like 9s and 10s and 8s all over the place. And those scores don't mean anything anyway, so I don't know, it's so weird because the game is so fantastic. Why would you even... There's literally was no reason. Obviously they didn't know that it was gonna be a success, but obviously the game was just... It was fantastic. It was just really good. I probably know a few people that actually play games and were like, "Oh no, this is actually a good game. We don't have to buy good reviews. We'll get good reviews because it's a good game." I know, but I don't think it takes from the games at all. And even if it would, I wouldn't consider it for this list, as I've said before. I just kind of want to mention because I always wondered what they were thinking. Why would you want to buy good reviews if it's just already really, really good? You know? Anyway, that's it for The Shadow of Mordor and The Shadow of War. They're both really good games. It's the Lord of the Rings. There's probably more Lord of the Rings that came out in the last decade, but I don't think any of the other games are very good.
You are playing the role of the King of Castile, and you are having rather a bad day.
For number 26, I cheated a little bit, or a lot, because I put both Crusader Kings II and EU4. For me, it's really hard. They're very similar games. Like EU4 is more countries versus countries, and Crusader Kings II is more like kingdoms versus kingdoms, or rather, it can also be like very small cities or whatever. But they're both very good games. EU4 doesn't get quite as much love as Crusader Kings II. Why? I don't know. Maybe because it has slightly more options than EU4. But the overall gameplay is very similar, to be fair. But they're both very good games. They have a lot of details, and they're very interesting grand strategy games. Both of these games have a lot of DLC, which you probably don't have to buy every one of them. There's a lot of articles online on like Reddit or the Steam forums even, maybe, that tell you which DLCs are really more important, because they're not all equally good. Some are pretty bad, to be fair. But overall, if you're looking for like a grand strategy game, they're both really, really good. It's just the difference is very subtle. However, I would say EU4 is just a simpler version of Crusader Kings II, which is not necessarily a bad thing. If you want to have less things to do, just go for EU4. I hope I'm not offending anyone that prefers EU4 because they just think it's the better game, not because they think Crusader Kings II is too complex. Anyway, they're both amazing. Both of them made it here, so you know, it's good. Don't be mad at me.
Your brother's armies, now your own, are soon marching south, striking preemptively against your good Muslim neighbors, with your former spy master on the front lines, of course.
Number 25 is actually quite an interesting one. It's Tomb Raider. Now, the Tomb Raider games, especially the reboot in 2013 and 2015 sequel to that, were both really, really good. However, for me, one of the reasons that it's this high is also kind of the story that Tomb Raider went through compared to previous decades. Is that games were previously not very good. The gameplay was alright and had some interesting ideas. However, stuff like the camera always held it back a lot. And all of that was fixed. The 2013 game, the reboot, was absolutely amazing, and a lot of people loved it. Looked at it, graphics are amazing. The graphics are even just gotten better and better, which is always nice. The gameplay itself also got better and better. I think the 2018 game was not all that amazing compared to the reboots, but still, this game absolutely deserves to be this high on the list, because it really did a turnaround, and it's such an enjoyable game. Not perfect, but no game is really perfect, to be honest. But it definitely deserves this spot just because the games are really good now, and they are just the change that it went through in the last 10 years. It's absolutely amazing, and that's why it got this spot.
You just don't know it yet.
Number 24 is Portal 2. Released by Valve in 2016, this game is a very interesting puzzle game with funny characters and an overall interesting story. It's essentially like Portal 1, but 10 times as big and more interesting and more difficult, kind of. Definitely more difficult because you have more puzzles. But yeah, this is definitely a classic that's gonna be still popular in like 10-20 years, just like the original. The co-op is still very fun to play and just holds up very well, and there's no other games that are really like this.
I think we can put our differences behind us. For science, you monster.
Okay, here it is. Number 23 is Fortnite. Fortnite had to be on this list. Is Fortnite the best battle royale game out there? Probably. It's a bit more interesting than PUBG, but it's not quite as convoluted as Apex Legends. It's kind of a middle ground because you get the structures to build, and from there just kind of the players have the option to see how far the skill ceiling goes, which is really fun. Also, the popularity of the game really gave it a boost, of course. And the question is, if this game wouldn't have been as popular as it is, would it still be on this place? Honestly, I'm not sure. It does deserve a lot of recognition, and it's probably the best battle royale game out there, just because the looks are much better. It holds up much better than PUBG, for example. And the gameplay is definitely better than Apex Legends, simply because you don't have to think about the skills that every character has, which keeps it very simple, but it also gives a lot of depth for improvement with all the wooden buildings that you can build. It's honestly quite interesting how much it has evolved. Anyway, Fortnite is 23. It didn't make the top 20 because personally, I'm not very much into battle royale games, but I do appreciate Fortnite for what it is. Even though Tetris 99 is still much better. Number 22 is Mario, and this includes the main series, the spin-offs, the Mario Kart, Mario Party, and Mario Maker. The reason for this is I didn't really want to include like 5 different entries of Mario on this top 100 list, so I put them all in the same place. But then you might ask, Why is Mario only 22nd? Super Mario Odyssey was absolute smash hit and everyone loved it. Why is it only 22 if you also include Mario Kart, Mario Party and the spin-offs and Mario Maker? Well, first off, Mario Party has been the same game for 20 years, essentially anyway. Mario Kart, there hasn't been that much Mario Kart in the last 10 years, really. I don't really feel like Mario Kart had any improvements since Double Dash, and that came out last decade. The main series, I didn't actually play Super Mario Galaxy 2. I did play the original 2 years earlier, which I absolutely love. And I assume Super Mario Galaxy 2 is just an improved version of that. Also, Super Mario Odyssey, also really, really good. Has like, I don't know, like 96 on Metacritic or whatever, which I guess that's fine. But for me personally, I'm just kind of sick of the Mario games. They're still very good, and they definitely, I wouldn't complain if anyone put it in top 10. I can definitely understand it. I had it in the top 10 at first too. However, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, Mario is actually, even though especially Odyssey kind of renewed the entire series, and it was very new and very exciting, I just wasn't feeling it as like a top 10 or top 20 game of the decade compared to the games that are still to come. Maybe it's because there's been so many games already, and I'm not sure, to be fair. The games are absolutely amazing, I cannot deny that. However, I just couldn't put them in the top 20, even though Mario does deserve it.
Oh, there do I see my mother. Oh, there do I see my father. Oh, there do they call to me. Oh, there do they call to me. Oh, there do they call to me.
And number 21, the last one for this video, is God of War. This decade we had 3 God of War games: God of War 3, God of War Ascension, which we'll never mention again, and God of War, the kind of a reboot, sequel-ish kind of game that came out last year in 2018. God of War always has been good. God of War 3 was absolutely amazing, and then again in 2018 the God of War game made people call their significant others boy, regardless of gender, and I don't know, I think that's just amazing, and that's the only reason this got this high. 21, just because people call each other boy because of it. Absolutely deserves it.
Smartest man alive. First, you need to cut off my head.
Wait, what?
That axe you got. You gotta handle her special.
I know you're a god. Not of this realm, but there's no mistaking it. He doesn't know, does he? About your true nature? Or his own?
The longer you wait, the more damage you do. He will resent you, and you may lose him forever.
You're next! I'll rip your head off!
There are consequences to killing a god.
Why?